Welcome to your WestlawNext tutorial. To get to WestlawNext, you'll need to type into your browser lawschool.westlaw.com. Once you're there, you will be asked to put in your 1Pass username and password. Do so. At the top of the screen, you will notice options to go to WestlawNext, to Westlaw, or to Twin, also Law School Exchange. In our case, let's go ahead and select WestlawNext. To keep in line with your different research assignments, let's go ahead and look at how you use WestlawNext to search various types of research issues. Let's start by looking at secondary sources. Within secondary sources, you will notice that you're able to search by type or by state. In our case, let's look at the different types that we have available to us. Texts and treatises will be our first choice. You'll notice on the next page we have options from several different texts and treatises. These treatises are also what we call encyclopedias. For this first venture, let's wander into the wonderful world of American jurisprudence second. The first thing to notice with American jurisprudence is the list of topics that are available. These topics are the same topics that the books are broken down into. So if you were to go and browse in the library, you will notice you'll find abandoned lost property, adoption, zoning, all of these same issues. So browsing here is pretty much equal to browsing in the stacks. You can do a search right here through all content of your topic and it will search everything. But just for the fun of it, let's scroll down and see if there is a section on nuisance. Lo and behold, nuisances is available. So go ahead and select it. Nuisance will open up into an outline, and this outline is very similar to the outline that you would find if you were to look in the book under nuisance. And at this point, you can actually use the bar up top to search through nuisances, and that may make life a little bit easier. Now, if you were to go back to American jurisprudence and select specify content to search, it will pull up boxes that you can check and then search within those results. However, let's go back to search all content and let's type in nuisance and then hit search. And here are our results. 2080 seems pretty steep and would be a lot to go through. But if you'll notice on the left hand side, you can search within these results. So perhaps you can narrow this down, perhaps typing in agriculture or more of the specifics of your case. Now, going back to secondary sources, let's go ahead and take a look at another source, Law Reviews and Journal. You will notice that under Law Review and Journals, you do have quite a few options. One is to search through national journals, federal, or international journals. You can also choose to search by state. So for example, if you were to select Kansas, you would be searching Kansas journals, such as Kansas Bar Journal, Kansas Law Review, perhaps some CLEs, stuff like that. But in this case, let's just do a search through all law reviews and journals on our topic. 1,627 sorted by relevance. Again, this is a fairly steep number. On the left-hand side, you can elect to search within results, or you can actually search within the various states to see what's available. It may be worth it to see what's coming up specifically in Kansas. Now, going back to WestlawNext homepage by selecting WestlawNext, let's go ahead and take a look at cases. Select cases, and the next page you'll notice you have quite a few choices. One is you can actually search all federal cases or all state cases, as well as federal cases by court, by circuit, and you can do cases by state. So at this point you can select to just search Kansas. However, by selecting the bar up top, you'll get the option to change that. So this pops up giving you the opportunity to add states or various courts. In our situation, let's go ahead and include related federal courts. So this would be District of Kansas, as well as the circuit courts and the Supreme Court. Okay, now that we have Kansas state and federal cases, we can choose to just search nuisance within all these cases. But I'm not a super huge fan of that. I think that there is a much better way to find nuisance cases. Going back to the WestlawNext homepage, you'll notice that there is a tab labeled Tools. Underneath Tools, you will notice there is a link to West Key Number System. I believe that this is a much better way to find relevant cases. The homepage of the West Key Number System is a list of various topics of law. You may elect to choose through this list if you so desire, or you can actually go ahead and insert your search term in the search bar to search West Key Number System. So we go ahead and type in nuisance and then hit search. Our results are produced. I went ahead and scrolled down until I found something that looked like it would actually work in our case. So here is nuisance, key number 1, nature and element of private nuisance in general. Okay, but let's go back and see if we can't do this yet another way. I noticed that there is a key number for nuisance, so I decided to go back and select it. Here we actually have an outline of nuisance. This outline is very similar to what you would find if you were to pull the book and look up nuisance in the Kansas Digest or the Pacific Digest. And since I'm interested in the nature of, kind of like I want a background information on private nuisances, I click on nature of injury, liability, therefore K1 through K10. You'll notice that this has broken itself down into even more details of an outline, but I'm still interested in nature and elements of private nuisance in general. So I'm going to select the first one and see what happens. You'll notice that at this point cases start popping up. And of course, what's at the very top but the Byers v. Snyder case that I found earlier. I would also like to notice that there are 46 results. You'll notice by the parenthetical 46. Also, on the left-hand side, you can search within the results. So I can search within those 46 cases. Now let's go back to WestlawNext homepage. But this time, instead of searching cases, let's look at statutes and court rule. At this point, we could search the Kansas as well as United States Code annotated by simply plugging in our search term into the search bar. But I would kind of like to see just specifically Kansas, and I would also like to see the statutes a little bit more broken down so I can kind of get a relative idea of what I'm looking at. So to do this, I scroll down and look for Kansas. And there, at the bottom of the first column, I find Kansas and I select it. At this point, I can choose to search all the content. You'll notice the radio bar, or I can actually specify content to search. The specified content will, of course, open up boxes where I can check and then search. But right now, I would just like to search for nuisance throughout the entire thing. And here are my results, 188. Not too unreasonable to look through, but you can search within those results if you so desire. Okay, now WestlawNext does have an amalgamated searching ability. If you were to just type in nuisance in the search bar and select your jurisdiction, it will do a search throughout everything we've discussed plus more. So let's go ahead and try that by typing in nuisance and then search. The first page that comes up is going to be an overview. This overview is going to be the top 14 pieces that WestlawNext feels is the most relevant to your search. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side, it is broken down into cases, statutes, regs, secondary sources, etc. So after running this search, now I am curious about secondary sources. So what I'll want to do is find it on the left-hand side and select it. Now that I am here, I am pretty much astounded by the sheer fact that there are over 10,000 citations. So I really need to narrow this down. So how do I do that? Well, one of the best ways to do that is to narrow it down by title. You'll notice that you can narrow down by publication type and also by publication name. In our situation, I would be curious to see everything within American Jurisprudence, second edition. Now scrolling back up, I'll notice that I can, from the secondary sources page, actually select to look at cases. So when I click on cases, they all pull up. Again, in this situation, I've got over 1,900 cases, almost 2,000 cases. I would really like to be able to narrow this down. Well, luckily, you can. Scrolling down, you'll notice that there's an area called topic on your left-hand side. There are basically two topics, criminal or civil. Select criminal and it will come up with various criminal cases. In our case though, we're looking at civil liability and I'm really interested in real property. So when I select that, it will narrow down my cases from almost 20,000 to just 324. There are my 324 cases. And now from this section, I can actually jump over to statutes, where there seem to be 563 citations. With 563 results, my best option is going to be to narrow this down as much as possible. To do that, simply scroll down and look at your narrowing options. Now WestlawNext does have advanced searching. So if you have been using Westlaw and you feel incredibly comfortable using terms and connectors, this would actually be the place to go to do that. So select the advanced link, and here it is. At this point you can actually you can change jurisdictions, if you're interested in going from Kansas to somewhere else, or you can just stick with this one. Find documents that have all of these terms, any of these terms, or exact phrases, all of these terms being and connectors, any being or, and of course exact phrases would be quotes. All of your connectors and expanders are located on the right hand side for you to use as you so desire. Well, that's the end of this tutorial. I hope you got a little bit of knowledge from it and that it helps you in your searching. Again, if you have any questions, always stop by your library and ask a librarian. Thanks.